Vehicle crashes make stunning video on the local news. But did you know, as commercial motor vehicle drivers, there's a better chance we'll be injured doing our job while not behind the wheel than in vehicle crashes? There are a lot of ways we can get hurt in and around our rigs, even when we're not behind the wheel.
Usually driver injuries are caused by an unsafe act. It can be environmental, not being aware of slippery areas around your truck. It can be poor judgment at the time of the delivery, and it can also be, it could be something that's unforeseen, but generally it's usually something that it was a decision before the accident happened that caused it.
That's right. It's the unsafe acts around the rig when doing inspections, making a delivery, or doing the routine tasks outside of the driver's seat that are more likely to lead to injuries than virtually anything we do behind the wheel. The process for safely getting into and out of the tractor is pretty simple, but that doesn't mean you can't get into trouble.
Most driver injuries are caused by unsafe acts, slips and falls from the drivers, bad judgment on entering and exiting the cabs of the trucks.
Not having 3 points of contact is the biggest one, especially in the wintertime. You have ice on your stairs. You can have wet feet from walking across the grass, so definitely your 3 points of contact is your best way to enter and exit a truck.
Carl Pinter is the CMV Program Director and instructor at Chippewa Valley Technical College. He'll take us through the proper way to climb up into the cab safely using 3 points of contact.
Some of the most common injuries entering and exiting your rig are slips, trips, and falls. Place any loose objects you may have on your seat. Use 3 points of contact when entering the vehicle. Hand on the door, hand on the grab rail, one on the step. As we climb up, we're going to take to the next step, grab the next handrail, and enter into the vehicle.
The key to staying comfortable and productive behind the wheel starts with a proper seating position. Develop a routine, so every time you enter your cab, you set your driving position properly. Sit upright, with your lower back in a position that allows the seat to support your lower back area, also known as your lumbar.
When I'm trying to get someone properly positioned as a truck driver, and much like a lot of other people that drive large vehicles, we often look at the individual. Sometimes we look at their body type, and then we make those fine adjustments with the seats. Especially a lot of the new vehicles that are out there today allow a lot of seat adjustments. There's forward and aft adjustments. There's even tension on the cushion itself, depending upon the individual's weight that's driving. A lot of them have a nice low back support. And actually, even the telescoping steering wheel is also helpful as well.
What we like to see the drivers do is to get the steering wheel out of the way, pull the seat up to a point where they can properly operate the pedals without having to make any stretching maneuvers, and then bring the air up in the seat so that they've got their body and their legs at about a 90-degree angle, so everything is properly supported, and then bring the steering wheel to themselves.
With all of those potential adjustments, move the seat so your hands rest on the wheel comfortably without having to stretch. Position your hands at the recommended 9 and 3 or 8 and 4 positions so you can use the large muscles of your shoulders and upper arms to do the work of steering rather than put pressure on your hands and wrists. This position should also give you straightforward access to the shifter without stretching or stressing your arm or wrist.
Some of the best ways to stay safe on a loading dock is once you back into the dock, make sure you set all your brakes, both your trailer brakes and your tractor brakes. Make sure your vehicle isn't going to go anywhere. Make sure that you're chocking the wheels, that the trailer is locked into whatever locking device they have at that facility, and that we aren't going to have anything roll away. If you're not familiar with their dock plating system, ask someone to help you with that. You don't want to try to operate something you're not familiar with. That's a great time to have an accident. So those are the types of things you want to be aware of when you're coming into a loading dock.
If you're one of us typical drivers that has to do these sorts of things, you know we can face some serious risks when loading, unloading, or securing a load. Safety begins with planning and PPE. You may need gloves, steel-toed shoes, safety glasses, a hard hat, and high visibility clothing.
Wearing the proper safety equipment, it's not in the truck for show. It needs to be worn, and the caution that they take needs to be of utmost importance. It needs to be a a value for them. It needs to be a way of life.
For most of us, a pinched finger or scraped knuckle probably isn't going to send us to the hospital. But every driver should have a good pair of protective leather or heavy canvas gloves, because hand injuries aren't limited to scrapes and cuts.
Safe practices for raising and lowering landing gear, first and foremost, is to make sure that your muscles are stretched out, that you're comfortable going out there and haven't just been driving the truck for 6 or 7 hours straight without any opportunity to stretch. You don't want to get out and try and crank down the landing gear right away on the trailer. You want to make sure you have an opportunity to stretch a little bit before you do that. When you are also having issues, if there is a lot of pressure on the landing gear, instead of sustaining some sort of an injury, you may want to call and try and get some assistance from another driver that might be in the area, or if there's a spotter truck around that could possibly get underneath the trailer and lift it to take some of the pressure off, that can also help.
The first thing you should do whenever you're about to raise or lower landing gear is to give the components a good visual inspection. Climb under the trailer and make sure the kingpin is locked properly. Once you're sure that's good to go, then take a look at the landing gear. Make sure there are no cracks and to see that everything is in alignment. Climb out carefully. Now grab the crank handle and put it into low gear. Stand facing the front or back of the rig. Place your feet roughly shoulder width apart. Use both hands and crank until the weight is on the tractor. Once the load is off the landing gear, you can shift into high gear. Face the trailer, keep your feet apart, and place one hand on the trailer for stability. Now crank the landing gear up completely. Don't spin the handle quickly. You could end up striking yourself in the jaw, or worse.
Heat can cause a lot of injuries as far as dehydration, that type of stuff. When you're working outside, securing loads and that kind of stuff, you can be working on that load for a long time and get pretty dehydrated pretty fast working up a sweat.
Jeff's right. Dehydration can be trouble for drivers. Another issue can present itself quickly: heat illness. Heat illness usually leads first to muscle cramps, but if that's not treated, it can lead to heat exhaustion. Symptoms of heat exhaustion include sweating, fatigue, lightheadedness, nausea, or vomiting.
For drivers, the best way to manage heat properly, most importantly, is proper hydration. You want to drink plenty of fluids, waters, sport drinks. Try and stay away from the drinks with a lot of sugar content. They don't help the body at all. The other thing is your proper clothing. You want to stay away from your cotton materials. They don't allow the body to breathe. All kinds of different materials out there nowadays that will help the driver maintain his body temperature and proper, so you're not sweating. It wicks the sweat away and allows you to maintain that body temperature where it should be.
Should heat exhaustion be left untreated, it can lead to heat stroke, which can tack on symptoms like confusion, agitation, and seizures. With that in mind, if you're working and you feel like you're overheating, take a break to cool down and ask for help. Thankfully, few of us will experience a vehicle crash. However, statistics indicate that many more of us will miss work due to a non-driving on-the-job injury. Making it home safely and injury-free is more often a result of our choices than some random sequence of events. Take your time, make good choices, get home safely.
Don't hurry. When you hurry too much, that's when you're going to get injured. Don't overload your cart. If you have to take an extra trip to make the delivery, take that extra trip. 10 minutes, 15 minutes at the end of the day isn't going to change your life, but making an unsafe decision could change it forever.
Forever is a long time. Decisions we make now can have negative repercussions down the road. Even if we don't suffer an immediate injury from unsafe work habits, chances are good we'll suffer later in life. Poor lifting technique or the cumulative impact of jumping out or off of trucks could lead to back or joint problems long after retirement. Make a personal commitment to recognizing risks. Adopting safe practices is the best protection for preventing injuries today and avoiding the long-term consequences of unsafe work habits in the future. Safe work habits will keep each of us out of the hospital and on the road.